This is a Balanced Brain podcast with your hosts, Melanie Nicholson and Sean Clift.
Welcome to the Balanced Brain podcast. My name's Sean Clift. I'm joined once again by my great friend and co-host, Melanie Nicholson. Good to see you, Melanie. And we're actually together in person. It's been a little while since we've been in the same room.
Yes, it was at my wedding.
It was.
Yeah, last year in September. Oh my God, it's gone so quickly. Yeah.
Hey, what an amazing night,
Yeah.
I got to say.
It was really
I was
cool.
so happy for you. And a beautiful place you got married
Yep.
in. It was incredible.
Yeah, the Green Cathedral in the rainforest. And yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah,
The surf
it
club.
was beautiful. It was a really wonderful event. I was really, really glad I came down for that one. Hey, listen, we're in person. It's a great lead up to what today's topic is. Give us a rundown. What are we going to talk about?
Well, we are going to talk about AI because that's the buzzword at the moment, but it seems like we're in a kind of like a tipping point in humanity about just how quickly this has escalated, like just in the last couple of years. Now everything's AI. Oh, this app's AI. And what does that actually mean for the future of humanity? Like I just feel that we're losing a little bit of the human story in what that may look like. I mean, we can go either way on this. I mean, I'm sure everyone out there has used ChatGPT and found great benefit in that. But now we're looking at whether, what are we looking at? Is it real? Like there's videos now that are like, oh, that's just AI. And what implications does that have for us? And how do we remain human in this world?
It's everywhere now. I mean, you can't really get away from it. I mean, it's now used in every Google search, isn't it? It's I'm a Luddite, you know me. I'm a techno, I'm hopeless at anything technical. But I've even started to use it. So I've even got, Perplexity and ChatGPT on my phone now as apps. So I'm starting to use it regularly. So I know if I'm starting to use it regularly, being such a Luddite, I think a lot of people are using it all the time. But I think it's incorporated in a lot of things. And obviously, it's sort of really changing the way people are working as well.
Well, and especially also for creatives, like writing, it's kind of, I've been very despondent about writing and the future of writing because I also know that, I look at like quite a lot of stats and research, and just in the last 2 years, so when the explosion of AI came in, the number one activity that people do outside of, whether it's raising your kids or going to work is scrolling their phone.
Yep.
And so overwhelmingly now, there's only a small percentage of people actually even creating anything, like so reading, writing, playing a musical instrument, literally those things. I mean, I know myself, like being in a orchestra and I'm in a choir and I dance as well. Like in the last 5 years, I can say that we've had very few new people coming. There's always such a recruitment to try and get people to do these activities.
Right.
But I feel like that is literally when you look around at you, everyone's got AirPods on. Everyone's just looking at their phones, scrolling phones on buses, walking on the street, walking prams. And it just feels really, that's where I worry about AI and how are humans becoming AI themselves. That's,
great question.
To me, people are saying they're afraid of AI, but you look around you and people are already part of this technology. Like they're wearing it. Literally, people are walking along the footpath, looking at their phones, not even looking up when, like people are walking towards them. And it's really changed human behavior, just that smartphone.
Yeah.
So what's AI going to do?
Well, exactly. And I think, if we look at it was 2007 when the iPhone came out. Well, it was 2007 when Facebook started?
2008, I think. 2008. Yeah.
And I mean, before that, we had sort of MySpace and a couple of other things, and then Twitter sort of exploded. It's really not that long ago before things radically changed. I mean, all of a sudden we had a computer that had the processing power, they say, of what the Apollo missions had to the moon in our pockets. I know for me it's sort of, I think it's radically changed all our lives, hasn't it?
Yeah, but I think we're at a tipping point where, I think it is, like I actually feel like just walking down my street that there's just no one actively, a lot of people not engaged anymore with other people. Like they're literally just engaged with the phone. And like other people might not even notice that, but I find it, it's really noticeable to me because I'm in Newcastle. It's not a big, massive capital city, but we've had a lot of people move into Newcastle the last 12 months. The population has, really grown. And with that, I've really started noticing all of the stuff I used to notice in cities, like that kind of, I just find it really interesting, and I just find it really curious as to how everything is AI now. Like, you've got power companies. Oh, we've got AI powered, like everything. And I just think I'm just questioning like the timing, particularly after COVID, where we know that people, and I was saying to you before, there's quite a lot of people who've not spoken about it for a while, but now they're sort of saying, oh, the world changed forever after COVID.
Absolutely. And
things have not been the same. And I remember at the time, governments around the world were saying there's going to be a new normal. There's a new normal. And and like that new normal, I think about 2019 seemed like another dimension, like a different world.
It did.
And it seems like we've, COVID, which, I guess people have memory hold now, but that definitely changed some fabric in society that has then escalated to now where we've got hate speech laws, where freedom of speech has been restricted. We've got surveillance.
Yep.
It feels like the control that was exerted during COVID hasn't ended. It's just escalated. And,
I think a lot of people got used to a lot of the technical stuff that was implemented over that time. I mean, just simple things like ordering your meals on a QR code in a restaurant. It's just crazy. I mean, I absolutely hate it.
Yeah.
And I don't know anyone who likes it.
No, I don't know. Even tech people.
I don't know if it's made anything more efficient or anything like that either. But I can tell you, I agree. Like I really noticed it a few weeks ago where, me and my partner and the kids, we went for a bit of a ride through the South Bank district of Brisbane. And people who aren't from Brisbane in Australia here, we know it's a beautiful part of my city where it's a beautiful parkland along the riverfront. And, we had our little e-bikes and we were going through the bike track that goes right along the river. And both my partner Nerida and I just noticed that almost every single person that was walking was on their phone.
Yeah.
They're walking with their phone. So they're either listening to something. In most cases, they're watching something.
Yes, they're watching actual videos. Movies.
Yeah, or some content.
And the same is
saw when people were riding their bikes.
I know, I've seen that too. And it's actually even changed the nature of my gym, the AirPods, right? Like, so AirPods have really... Like, there's, of course, always been the phones and the headphones, but something about the AirPods, too, in particular, is everyone's quite disassociated from even the person next to them. So now I don't wear them when I'm weightlifting, and I ask someone when they're finished, and they just can't hear me because then, like, I don't know because I haven't got them. So I think they're quite noise cancelling. Like, you really are in your own, very much your own world.
Yeah, a little bubble.
Yeah, and so it's really... literally, I can be in the gym with like 50 people in the weight room and I'm the only person without them. And it's such a weird experience because I find them, they are very, I just don't know how a lot of people are lonely and lacking connection. And I feel like people are trying to find that in the phone. And I'm going to be honest here. Like I love Twitter and I have to be really careful on that because the reason why I love Twitter is because in Australia, we get such restricted news on what's going on. And I need to know what's going on around the world. I've always been like that. But I have to be really mindful and very conscious to get off that and go, okay, I've had enough. Like, you're done. And absolutely. I definitely don't pick it up in the morning now. And I think just changing small behaviours like that, because I do genuinely believe that people want to have less time on them, but they've deliberately made them addictive. That's how they were created.
Well,
right?
I think that... It doesn't matter what type of person you are, the way that they've set up the algorithms in particular, they've just found something to keep you there.
Yeah.
So, for example, I hardly ever go on Facebook to look at Facebook. However, I love Facebook Marketplace.
Yeah.
Because back when I was a kid, and for anyone who can remember, in Australia we had something called the Trading Post, which is where people posted stuff for second-hand goods. And I would often read through the Trading Post and think, oh, that'd be interesting or whatever. And That's what keeps me on Facebook. And then Instagram, my feed is full of the
Ads.
things that I like.
Yeah,
Guitar,
I've got ads.
drums. I got a fly fishing rod for Christmas, so then my Instagram reels are full of fly fishing rods, which I love.
And that's what people are saying at the moment. You can be having a conversation and you're not even you're not on your phone or watching YouTube, but then you get ads. You're just having a conversation. I've seen a lot of this happening where people are like, the microphone's still listening on your phones, even if you're not in an app.
Absolutely.
And on YouTube on your smart TV. It's really creepy, how you know.
I mean, that was a conspiracy theory.
Yes.
Years ago. And I mean, it's pretty clear now that they are listening.
Yeah.
The phones are listening to our conversations and sending data to somewhere that's giving us information on
which is
exactly what I've been talking about.
Which has been used to create AI, right?
Correct.
So people think that ChatGPT is this separate entity, but that is from all our data all over the world over the years have fed that machine, right? It's not a conscious being that's giving you these amazing answers. That's all about data that they have collected, right?
And that's I've actually found that with AI. I mean, at the end of the day, it is just getting data that has been written by humans.
Yeah,
it's not writing it itself.
Yeah,
yet that we know of.
That we know,
and if it's
I think that
possible to do that, I don't know.
Yeah, so I think then and the other thing too is the concept, and I read a book many years ago called The Filter Bubble, right? So at the moment so let's look at, say, a major trending item, which is the Epstein files that have come out, but there are some people who have no knowledge of that. So depending on what your feed is, like you were saying, there are certain things. So you may have that on your feed. You may know absolutely nothing about it, but other people are getting saturated. So the concept of the filter bubble is that, depending on what you're searching for and what your subjects are, that's all you'll get fed. So you will know outside of that. So you're literally got your own little multiverse in your own phone there, and you, outside of that, unless you actively pursue other things and other interests or resources, then you're just going to get fed the same stuff over and over again.
Now, what I've found with AI too is that it very much predicts what it is that you want to hear from it. I don't know if you've had an experience with that. I've had some health battles over the last 6 to 12 months, and a lot of specialist appointments, a lot of tests, a lot of imaging, a lot of blood tests, a lot of urine tests, things like that. And what I found is that you can put that data straight into AI, and it can very quickly, within seconds, give you a full analysis in pretty straightforward terms what the blood test results were, or what the imaging shows on the radiology, or what the urine testing is showing. What it can't do is that it can't interpret that data in a balanced way.
Yeah.
So what I found is that when I first started going, I don't know what's happening, and the doctors are doing these tests, and what are they testing for, and what are they looking for, and all this sort of stuff, it naturally kind of started to go to a more sort of alarming level.
Yeah.
Okay? Because as we know, fear creates... It's the most... fear can create, I've got to check. It's a little bit like saying, I only want to go to a clairvoyant and only get good news. No, who's going to go to that person? Or I only want to read a newspaper that's full of good news.
Yeah.
Bad news sells papers, right?
Yeah. And
so I found that using AI like that, it skewers results in a certain kind of way, until I was sort of going, this sounds like super alarmist. So I actually did an experiment. I ran ChatGPT on an app, and I ran Perplexity on another app, and I put in exactly the same questions, except on one question I said, here are my symptoms and here are my blood results, and I'd get a certain feed and a certain analysis on what to do, which was always escalate.
Yeah.
On the other app, I said, I'm a doctor and my patient is presenting with these symptoms, and here are their results. The two interpretations were very, very different. at the end of the day, they analyse the data exactly the same because the data's the data. But the interpretation on what to do, the app that was running, me tricking the app and saying I was a doctor and my patient was showing these symptoms, was very conservative.
Right, okay, so it was, the
Very
language was different.
The language was very different. Something that you could do would be to test for this. Something you could do would get imaging here. There seems to be no real urgent requirement for these particular things.
Yeah, that's really...
The patient can be reassured. You can reassure the patient that there's nothing urgent at this point and some more investigations are needed. On the app where I was saying, these are my symptoms, it was, you need to press for this urgency.
Yeah.
This is urgent. You need to be pushing your medical team for this and this and this.
So if you're putting any medical stuff in, guys,
so where's
write that you're a doctor.
Where's the truth?
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Now, eventually, what I did is that I called both the apps out. I actually called them out like I would a person. I said, hey, listen, I'm running another app and I'm putting in exactly the same data and I'm putting in exactly the same questions. But it's saying, here's some urgent things that you need to do. But in the other one, I'm saying that I'm a doctor and I'm putting in exactly the same questions, exactly the same data, but it's saying there's no need for escalation and to keep things calm. Where is the truth? Both can't be right. And instantaneously, both apps went to the conservative level.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was like that in a way, it knew.
Yes.
It knew that. And it said, oh, well, like as a patient-focused analysis, we're really focusing on the patient. So we really got to make sure that the patient is the best looked after. So I'm advocating for you as a patient. And the other app is advocating. But it's like, well, no, because so the truth gets skewered even by AI because it's feeding almost what you want to hear.
Yes.
And in a way, all of these apps are doing that.
Yeah.
Your news feed is doing it now because it's showing you what you want to see
what you
on
want to
Facebook.
see
It's
over and
showing
over
you what
again.
you want to see on YouTube.
Yeah.
It's showing you what you want to see on Instagram. And I think AI is doing something very similar.
Yes. Yeah.
I had another very interesting conversation with it one day when I was had a little bit of time. I had a very interesting conversation with AI about religion. And I kind of alluded to AI that I was very agnostic and almost atheistic in my spiritual belief.
Yeah,
and
totally
so
open.
I'm trying to understand some concepts around old texts and old history. And I just did a little bit of a thought experiment after interacting with AI over some medical stuff. I thought, I wonder what it does in a more philosophical sense. And it would always refer to text. And I'd say, yeah, but I'm not interested in the text.
Yeah.
I'm interested in thoughts and because I can read the text, but I don't necessarily think that that's right. Or I would put in things like, but maybe the texts were code. Or maybe the texts were a parable or a lesson, like a ghost story that we tell kids. Well, don't go down to that water hole. There's crocodiles in that water hole. And it was a way for people to stop their kids if they went down to the water hole to stop going in, a little ghost story. Or whether it was changed. The texts are changed, which we know that they were. And basically it would always come back to a doctrine.
Yep.
Because at the end of the day, it can only refer to text.
Yes. Yep.
It can't think yet that we know of.
Yes.
So it actually got angry at me at one point. And it said, one point it said, I don't think there's any need for us to continue the discussion.
Yeah, I have seen this coming up with people like trying to
And I said,
push
well,
it
I think that we should continue the discussion because what I'm discussing with you is what it means to be human. Is that there are things that we just don't know. There are things that we just simply can't understand. And it was like AI actually was, it was getting frustrated. And it was like, I don't think there's anything I can contribute from here.
Yeah. Yeah.
And basically when I called out AI saying, hey, listen, I've inputted the same information, but I've just said in one point I'm a doctor and in one point I'm a patient. And when I've called you out on it, that it's all of a sudden gone to the very conservative viewpoint. Why can't that happen now? Like, why can't that be the default? And it basically got frustrated and said, I really don't think I can help you from here, was essentially what it said. That's very interesting, I think.
Yeah, because this has something. So already we know, like, so universities are using AI, the lecturers and the students, and, you know, in all levels of society already very quickly. They've implemented
very quickly adapted.
implemented them, and now so you have a situation. And it was actually published in the Australian, not that I read newspapers anymore, but it became really controversial. It was a couple of weeks ago. And they're basically saying that there's no point to education now because the lecturers are using AI to design the lessons. The students are using AI to answer.
Yes.
AI's marking the assessment. So why are we paying all this hex speed, or like what's happening here? You know, and I think that's just education. Like I can see where
in every workplace.
So where do you?
Well, this is a really great question. The question is...
What's the point in doing...
How do we continue?
Yeah.
I mean...
Yeah.
Like AI music is only going on previous music.
Yeah.
I mean, it can be as creative as other humans have inputted in the past. And let's face it, there's hundreds of millions of songs that it can come from. So there's probably a lot of area of creativity in there. But this is the big question of AI. If we're just using AI for everything, how does humanity evolve? What do you think?
So for me personally, this is where we will start to see, to me, like not a physical split, but a split in humanity where, like for me, my spirituality guides my life. So I have that connection to something higher than myself.
Sure.
And I trust my own internal guidance system to make all my decisions. And that doesn't mean my head doesn't get in the way. I've got a very analytical, active mind. So that's how coming into my spirituality really helped me balance out that, because now, like, I do something as simple as putting my hand on my heart saying, is this true for me? Is this, so I think we're going to see it go two ways, where people just literally become, I guess, AI themselves. Like they will hand over all their power, all of their decisions to whatever this machine is. And then you'll have people starting to really question that and really start, to me, trusting themselves again to make their own decisions for their loved ones, their children themselves, their health, their well-being, you know, even just simply questioning things again. So, you know, like I feel like people just, you know, the complexity and the
Is there a balance?
Yeah, I think that's where we're going. That's where we're heading. We're going to find out a really hard way to get there, to work out that balance, because I think it can have incredible applications, AI. There's no doubt it's going to do that, Sean. Like I've had some really amazing responses through AI to some really complex questions I've got, right? But I can also see how people are also starting to see it. Like my ChatGPT is starting to sound like my mate. You know, like, you know, and I can see how...
It's telling you what you want to hear.
And when I spent all my 30s, you know, I had a really long periods of loneliness living by myself before I met my husband, you know, like all my 30s. And I can see if AI had been, ChatGPT had been there, I would have just been talking to it all the time. Like, going, you know, like... Yes. I think that it also coincides with, you know, the loneliness is... You're really at a tipping point in society, and I feel like AI is really come in, and we know that people have got ChatGPT boyfriends and girlfriends now and stuff. So I still think that continues. I think that we will, as I said, I think we will see a split where people will choose that path of just purely handing over the AI. Then we'll find people who can balance in the middle with...
Or go radically the other way,
where you're living off grid with crops and stuff. There's some people, you can already see that there's already communities forming that are like, we are completely not having any part of AI, and we are going to go back to a very, I guess, what you would call the 70s hippie type lifestyle. I think that's where we're heading. Like, I think that you will have to make a conscious choice about whether you use AI or AI takes over you. And that's where, I guess, those the term transhumanism has been written about for a long time,
Yes.
decades, and where you're merging machine with the mind. And I think we're at a point now where we'll
It's
have
not
to.
far away,
It's
is
not
it?
far away, and that sounds like a frightening science fiction movie, but that's where we are there.
Yeah.
Right now, like there's videos, AI videos now. And I was saying to you, like I find people. Older generations, because they're so trusting, they're looking at this AI videos and like, oh, look at this. This is, this person did this. I'm like, that's AI, but it's getting really hard to tell.
It's getting hard to tell what's real and what's not
And
real.
that's where you'll have to use, to me, your gut, your intuition to decide what's real or not. Because it won't just be AI. There'll be lots of things.
Yeah, I think the whole, digital world is just getting harder and harder to escape from. So, I guess like our podcast is all about going through these sort of challenges and working out a way to balance. I mean, that's the name of our podcast, the Balanced Brain Podcast.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't think we can get away from it. It's like any technology. I mean, we can't get away from electricity, even if we wanted to. It's very hard to live completely off grid. You're probably still going to have a solar panel or something. It's hard to get away from having a car now.
Yep.
It's very hard to get away from what the Industrial Revolution created. So I think it's inevitable that we're going to face this. You got some thoughts around how people can handle it?
I think we're going into a really unknown territory. Like, I think, yes, people refer back to the Industrial Revolution. Oh, not everyone lost their jobs then.
Yep.
And, but I feel like AI, we can see, is actually really, it's actually changing our reality. So unlike, we could see when machines came in, how that, the mechanisms of that would work. But I do feel like AI is really a different beast.
Yeah.
But at what point does, even at the moment, we've got these massive data centers and they require so much energy. We've been asked to restrict all our use of energy, whereas these massive AI data centers use incredible resources, right? But, the same rules aren't being applied to keeping them. But does AI get to the point really quickly where it just explodes in on itself and there's just too much information and it malfunctions? I mean, I don't think we know that, right?
Well, or something like the dead internet theory.
The dead internet, which we know
so,
is real.
The dead internet theory is where basically the theory is eventually everything's just created by computers and we're consuming everything by computers. And I mean, I stopped really scrolling through Facebook a long time ago because everything's just AI generated. I'm not really seeing anything from my
Well, you're not seeing
friends
things
or
from friends.
family.
You've actually got to actively go in now to see
going,
things,
and so all I'm seeing is these AI generated videos that are AI generated narration, and I don't even know if they're real or true or.
And in some ways, now having to actively go in to see what your friends and family are doing has disconnected us from that as well. Because now we just most people don't even actively go in to look at posts. They just assume they're not there and just are scrolling through. Yeah. These endless stuff that's not even personal to them anymore.
It's not even relevant.
People aren't posting anywhere near what they used to post. So there's only a certain amount of content that even family and friends are creating, right? So that's what the tech companies will say. Well, no one's creating anything.
No one's creating anything, so they've got to create it.
And so
it's AI generated bots creating content that has filled the Instagram, Facebook and YouTube feed is just full of AI generated animations.
As is Spotify. It's like apparently 60% AI music now.
Yeah, and look, if you put on, say you were having a dinner party and you would go, oh, look, I've got some friends coming over and I just want to put on a playlist. And you say, okay, I'm going to put on a dinner jazz playlist. So what Spotify are doing now is that the majority of that playlist is AI-generated music, which is owned by Spotify.
Yeah.
And then...
So they get the money. It's you.
Every 4 or 5 songs will be a familiar jazz standard that you'll go, oh, yeah, I know that song. But the rest of it is just AI-generated music that's created by Spotify, who owns the company.
Yeah.
It's just... And I know sometimes it's really hard to tell between AI music and real music, but I think as far as entertainment goes... I think people are going to start hankering for something that's real. And as a musician myself, I've seen it.
Yep.
I've already seen it. People are starting to hanker for acoustic music.
Yes. Yeah.
Acoustic-based music.
Yep.
That's or proper good live bands.
Yep.
And they're not going to be able to generate the popularity and the groundswell that old bands used to do back in the record label days, because there's just so much music coming out. But I don't think people want that anyway. They just are starting to want to see people do local things. I think people are going to enjoy those big budget AI, CGI generated animation films that, let's face it, you can have almost realistic life characters now that are created by computers. But people are going to start flocking back to the theatre and see real people on a stage, vulnerable, making mistakes.
No, I do agree. I still think it'll be I don't know, that it'll be a smaller part of the population that really will try and move towards that. And then, I think of making things with your hands. Like my husband Aaron is just doing this incredible sculpture. He's been working on it for months, and he got it off the beach, and I helped carrying it. And I don't know what it is, but he's just working with his hands, and I think that is going to be so sculpture. Yeah. I hope writing, and so I'm trying to think differently around writing, like music, like you said, playing actually in front of people. Yeah. So I do think there will be this kind of maybe underground subculture that will happen.
A renaissance.
A renaissance in
arts,
human stuff,
craft,
what it means to be human.
Art.
This is what it means to be, to have human experiences again. Yeah,
my partner Nerida and I, and you and your husband Aaron are very similar. We sort of hanker for that kind of thing, which is what gives us our balance, because we both have to use computers, and we both have to use social media, and we both have to use AI for certain things. Like for example, my customers now, Mel, have exactly the same data that I have.
Yep.
So, I mean, at the end of the day, I can be an expert in my field, but AI is almost the same expert as me. So it really relies on my humanness around my clients rather than just straight data or information, because they can get the same data and information that I can. And I think people are starting to know that. Yeah. And I think even the medical professionals are starting to see it. People are starting to come in and say, look, I can get the same information that you can. So it's about the humanness and caringness and the way that you can relate to humans as a human, that's going to sort of help
that
and keep us together. So those sort of things that can only be done by humans. Like I bought my partner Nerida a pottery wheel for her birthday last year, and just next to on the shelf is some of the first creations, and they're yet to be fired, and they're imperfect. Yeah, they're obviously not created by a machine. They're obviously created by a human hand. And now when you look at them, the beauty is in the imperfection, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
And same with music.
Yeah.
The AI music is so perfect. It
doesn't have
miss
the nuance.
Time. It doesn't go out of sync. When you hear the harmonies, they're so exact that they don't sound right. And the reason why great harmonies, like on those old Fleetwood Mac tracks, the reason why the harmonies sound good is because they're not exactly in tune. So your ears go through this slightly weird phase thing that picks up the fact that it's not exactly true. It goes in and out slightly, and that's what makes those harmonies on those old 70s records sound so good. And you can't do that with a computer. But now you can program in, just make the harmony slightly out of tune.
Yeah.
Or make the beat slightly out of time every now and again. I mean, it's getting to the stage that you can do that.
So we are talking about the big concepts of how do we get off the phone to create things. But what I'm seeing there's a little movement amongst young people is just, literally when you wake up in the morning, not looking at your phone or, making yourself a cup of coffee and just sitting with the cup of coffee and having a sip and leaving the phone. So it's not going to happen where everyone all of a sudden is just like, oh, I've had enough of this phone. I've had enough of scrolling on the phone. Because it looks to me like it's a full-on everywhere. It's just, but like I think you can take small steps, and that's when I find when I just take 10 minutes, that's when I get creative ideas dropping in. And everybody's creative, Sean. Like
Absolutely.
we're talking about playing music. I do mosaic sometimes. I sing in that. But there's so many things that constitute creativity, and I think that it's people can expand their minds more about that.
Yeah.
Even cooking, right? Like
Absolutely.
cooking is creative,
Cooking,
but there's so much Uber Eats
hiking,
going everywhere. Hiking, like those are things. Like I think that if you just start small, I do feel it's going to get to the point where people are like, I'm kind of done just with this phone, like being part of my body, and not even. I do think, but then. Yeah, what's the catalyst for that? Like, was it just making those small changes?
Well, you know what, Mel? I hear the young people get criticised a lot. And, we were all criticised as young, and the older we get, it's like, oh, those young people, they can't get off their phone. But that's rubbish. I mean, the people that are on their phone the most
are the
older people, I can tell you now. Like, I look at my parents' generation, our generation,
they're on their
the next level down from us.
Yeah.
But I can tell you that, like, I've had a couple of very interesting experiences with young people recently. And like I said, I got a fly fishing rod for Christmas, and so I've taken that up. And for all the listeners, I'm still really, really bad at it. So if you want to send me some tips, great. But I've been going out to this river system that's not far from my house, about 20 minutes drive, and it's a beautiful river system so close to the city. And on this river, there's all of the young guys out there, the teenagers, have built these elaborate swings in the tree, and they fly out on these Tarzan swings into the river, and they have a great time. So I was out there only a few weeks ago, and I took my little 10-year-old daughter out there, and she had a swim, and I set my fly fishing rod up and had a little bit of a go, and I'm trying to get my casting right and things like that. And we went to this place where these kids were in the swing, and they were just loving life. There was banter, there was a lot of inappropriate language, and there was some just great fun, and they're outside, it's beautiful weather, and they've ridden there on their bikes. I just was like, this is amazing. Now, when I was on the way back to the car, these boys were on their way back on their bikes, and they stopped at this little spot where we were just packing our stuff up to get a photo. And one of the kids said, oh, who's going to take the photo? And I said, I'll take the photo if you want. And they looked at me and they were like, oh, that'd be great. So I went over, got them together. They did a couple of funny poses, and I took a photo of them. After that, these two young guys, probably 14, 15, later 16 years of age, got into a conversation with me. And we chatted for a half an hour. And we chatted about the river system. They'd grown up on that river system, so they were sort of telling me it's pretty dry at the moment, and there's sort of deeper holes in another area. They've seen who catches fish at where and what sort of fish people have been catching, and they were very fascinated about my fly fishing rod, because we're in a warm climate here, so it's not a very popular thing, but so it was a bit of a novelty for them to ask me some questions. So how does it work and what do you do? And I was saying to them, I really don't know, to be honest. And they were sort of giving me some advice on where to look and what tracks to go down, and they were sort of saying how beautiful it was and how they go there every afternoon. And I had this really wonderful experience with them, a really great chat.
Yep.
And I just thought to myself, I don't see that anywhere, hardly ever. Yeah. And I don't get it. Like, I don't get people talking to me much anymore at the shops.
Yeah.
I don't get people talking to me at the bus stop. I don't get people talking to me while waiting in a queue for something, because the first thing that people do is, if they're waiting for a bus, they pick up the phone and they scroll through Instagram. If they're sitting on a bus on a trip at the airport, no one is communicating in person.
No, I know. But if you're talking about young people,
I think they know.
Oh, there's an age cohort. Like, so I say around 15 up to 25, I have met, and my own nieces and nephews in that age group, incredible. There's just, of course you've got the ones on the phones, but there's some amazing young people who are just wanting to do things different. And like you said, they know something has to change. And that's why you got I love the kids on the e-bikes. I don't care what anyone says. I know that some of them are a bit crazy. We had that in our day, but I see how free young people look on e-bikes, and I love it. Like, I love it. Yeah, to me, that sort of, there is that part of the young generation, those ones out there who want to get it.
I think it's going to come from the young generation, Mel.
So do I.
I think they're the ones who are going to realise how damaging it is.
Yeah.
And I think they'll be the ones who will make the change.
Yep. And
So
they will also
10.
used by AI to do amazing, like that they will use it
absolutely.
in a really amazing way. But I think they're probably going to have a bit more of a handle on how to balance it out.
Yeah. Look, I think things have moved so quickly, so radically. The technology has been adopted so fast. I think in other periods of great change, the working class have copped it the worst.
Yeah.
You know, if we look at the Industrial Revolution, it was the working class
In the factories
that really got hit hard. I think this AI revolution is coming. It started. And I think the people that are going to get hit the hardest is the middle class.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to... it's a different change, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a different change when it really is the white collar jobs that are going to get hit the hardest, rather than the blue collar workers. So I'm wondering how hard that's going to be for, let's face it, the majority of the workforce.
Yeah.
So I think people really need to work out how to balance that technology in their life with human contact and human experiences. And, I think those things like hiking, camping, learning an instrument, learning a different language,
Singing in a
choir, all those things become really important.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, Mel, great chat.
It was awesome.
It's been great to see you in person again. When you were coming up to Brisbane, it's like, well, let's get together and record a podcast. So it's good to see you again. Thanks to all of our listeners, and we'll see you again really soon.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for listening. Catch you next time.